Alright, so let's dive into a story that really hits hard, especially if you've ever planned a wedding or dealt with complicated family dynamics. The title alone is a gut punch. I'm canceling my wedding because of my stepdaughter. You hear that, and you immediately know this isn't just about cold feet or disagreements over floral arrangements. This goes deep. The original poster, a 32-year-old woman, shared her story under the title, "My 32F future stepdaughter, 12F destroyed my wedding dress a week before the wedding." I'm torn between giving her another chance or calling off the whole thing. Just reading that, you feel the weight of it. A wedding dress, a week before the wedding, destroyed by a child. It's the kind of situation that sounds like a nightmare scenario, something you hope never happens to anyone. Our narrator, let's call her Olivia, starts by saying she's beyond frustrated and on the verge of giving her fiancé, Alan, an ultimatum she really doesn't want to give. Alan is 39 and they've been together for about 3 years, engaged for one. Their wedding is literally just a week away when this story unfolds. Now, Alan came with what he called a package deal. Right from the first date, he was upfront. His daughter, Rose, who's 12 now, is his entire world. Olivia says she was perfectly okay with this. She understood the complexities. She herself grew up in a divorced home where both parents were married, so she knew blended families weren't always simple. She embraced the idea, and the three of them started spending time together. But there's another crucial player in this dynamic. Alan's ex-wife, Carrie, who is 38. She and Alan co-parent Rose, sharing 50-50 custody. And according to Olivia, Carrie does not like her one bit. Alan explained their history. He and Carrie were high school and college sweethearts. Carrie apparently always held on to the hope that Alan would eventually come back to her, despite their relationship being incredibly toxic. Olivia mentions Alan confided in her about how badly Carrie treated him: emotional abuse, gaslighting, financial abuse, constant belittling, you name it. He finally found the courage to leave when he discovered Carrie was having an affair. Rose was only about 6 years old at the time. Despite the affair and the evidence of Carrie's poor treatment of Alan, the court still granted 50-50 custody. Now, some people reading the story question this, thinking cheating would automatically mean less custody. But others pointed out that courts often default to joint custody unless there's proven danger to the child. So the 50-50 split, unfortunately, isn't that surprising. Carrie, despite her flaws as a partner, apparently adores Rose. But her feelings towards Alan seem tangled up in resentment and that lingering hope of reconciliation, which clearly makes Olivia an obstacle in her eyes. So you have this backdrop: a loving fiancé, a stepdaughter who is the center of his world, and a toxic ex-wife lurking in the background, actively disliking the new woman in Alan's life. It's a recipe for potential conflict, and conflict is exactly what Olivia experienced with Rose. Olivia describes their relationship as strained. She gets it. Rose is a preteen, navigating the complexities of her parents' split and her dad moving on. It's natural for her to have conflicted feelings about him marrying someone new instead of getting back together with her mom. But Rose's behavior went beyond typical preteen angst. Olivia says she's been really haughty and nasty. She makes cutting comments, things designed to hurt. And whenever Olivia tries to gently correct her or ask her to stop, Rose throws the classic line in her face: "You're not my mother." It's a phrase designed to shut down any authority or connection Olivia might try to build. Alan, to his credit, has tried. Olivia says he's attempted to set down ground rules to establish boundaries for how Rose treats Olivia, but Rose just flippantly dismisses him, even telling her own father, "Op's not going to last." Imagine hearing that from your future stepdaughter, a constant undermining of your relationship, a prediction of your failure fueled, no doubt, by whispers from her mother, Carrie. Olivia put up with it. Why? Because she loves Alan, and because sometimes Rose wasn't awful. This is where it gets tricky, the part that makes it harder to just write Rose off as a monster. Olivia says, seriously, she's not a horrible kid. She gets good grades, she's talented, plays in the youth symphony, takes dance classes. She's popular, described as bubbly and friendly, when she isn't being mean to Olivia. It's like Jekyll and Hyde, Olivia says. This sweet, accomplished girl on one side and this nasty, disrespectful preteen on the other, specifically directed at her future stepmother. This duality makes the situation even more confusing and painful. It's not like Rose is acting out everywhere. Her negativity seems laser-focused on Olivia. Olivia and Alan haven't ignored this. They've talked about it constantly. They even tried involving Carrie, hoping for a united front, but Carrie just brushed them off, essentially telling Olivia to stay out of it. "Mind my own beeswax," was her charming response. They've tried therapy for Rose, groundings, taking away privileges, everything else, Olivia says, but nothing works. This is a crucial point many commenters later picked up on. If traditional discipline and even therapy aren't working, it strongly suggests an external influence is reinforcing the negative behavior. And all fingers point towards Carrie, potentially praising Rose behind the scenes for her loyalty, maybe even feeding her hope that if Olivia is gone, mom and dad might get back together. When the co-parent actively undermines the other household, discipline becomes almost impossible. So that's the stage set. A wedding just a week away, a loving relationship with Alan, but a deeply fractured and increasingly hostile relationship with his daughter, Rose, seemingly encouraged by her mother, Carrie, and despite numerous attempts to fix it. Now let's talk about the dress. This isn't just any wedding dress. Olivia explains its significance, and it really raises the stakes. A couple of weeks before the incident, the alterations on her dress were finished. She was incredibly excited. This dress holds immense sentimental value. Her late grandmother, someone Olivia was extremely close to, had made her own wedding dress inspired by photos of Grace Kelly. It became a family heirloom, with many women in their family either wearing it or having their own dresses designed in its image. Because Olivia is taller than her grandmother, she couldn't wear the original, so she had one custom made in the same style. It's a connection to her beloved grandmother, a link to family history, a symbol of elegance and tradition. It's not just fabric and thread, it's legacy, love, and memory stitched together. She had it carefully stored in her closet, tucked away safely in a garment bag. This dress represents her hopes for the future, her connection to her past, and the culmination of her love story with Alan. Its value goes far beyond any price tag. Okay, so we have the strained relationship, the looming wedding, and the precious dress. Now we get to the night everything imploded. Olivia and Alan don't live together yet. Her apartment happens to be close to one of Rose's friends. They have an arrangement. On some of Alan's custody days, Rose hangs out at her friend's house after school and then comes over to Olivia's apartment for dinner with both of them. Afterward, they might watch a movie or play video games before Alan takes Rose back to his place. It sounds like a reasonable setup, an attempt to integrate their lives smoothly. This particular day was one of those days. Alan called to say he was running late from work. Rose arrived at Olivia's apartment as planned. Olivia says everything seemed normal. Rose went off to do her own thing, and Olivia stepped into the kitchen to finish preparing dinner, leaving Rose unsupervised in the apartment for a period. Olivia adds a chilling line here. If I had any inkling of what was about to happen, I would have done something different. Hindsight is always 20/20, but the weight of that what-if must be crushing. Dinner was ready. Olivia went to get Rose. As she walked past her own bedroom door, something caught her eye. The sliding closet door wasn't quite right. It was positioned slightly differently than she remembered leaving it. A small detail, but enough to trigger a sense of unease, that gut feeling that something is wrong. She decided to check. She slid the closet door open, and there it was. Her beautiful, custom-made, Grace Kelly-inspired wedding dress, the link to her grandmother, the symbol of her future, was destroyed. It hadn't just been damaged, it had been attacked. My dress had been cut to pieces with a pair of scissors, Olivia writes. Cut to pieces, but Rose wasn't done. The shredded remains were also covered, smeared with glitter paint, and her veil torn to shreds, completely, utterly ruined. It's irreparable. The emotional impact was immediate and overwhelming. Olivia didn't even feel anger at first, just pure soul-crushing devastation. I broke down crying, she says. I was too upset to even be angry. Imagine that moment, the shock, the disbelief, the violation, seeing something so precious, so symbolic, deliberately mutilated. It's an act of profound aggression and disrespect. That's how Alan found her when he finally arrived, late from work. Olivia, surrounded by the glittering, shredded remnants of her wedding dreams, an absolute mess. When he saw what had happened and Olivia explained, Alan was, in her words, beyond furious. He immediately went to Rose and confronted her. And Rose's reaction? This is perhaps the most chilling part of the story. Did she deny it? Did she cry? Did she show any remorse? No, Rose admitted it. She admitted to taking scissors and glitter paint to Olivia's wedding dress, the dress Olivia was supposed to wear to marry her father in just 1 week. And she admitted it with a shrug, a casual shrug of her shoulders, as if she'd merely spilled some juice. And then she delivered the verbal equivalent of twisting the knife. What's the point? She's just a fat old cow anyway. Let that sink in, not just destroying the dress, but the cold, calculated cruelty behind it. The shrug indicating a complete lack of remorse, and the insult, fat old cow, revealing the depth of her malice and contempt for Olivia. This wasn't just a childish prank gone wrong. This wasn't an impulsive act of anger. This was deliberate, targeted destruction coupled with vicious personal insults. It speaks volumes about Rose's state of mind and the hostility she harbors towards Olivia. Alan, understandably furious, confiscated Rose's cell phone and immediately called Carrie to discuss a punishment. Olivia doesn't detail that conversation, but given Carrie's track record of dismissing Rose's behavior and undermining Olivia, it's hard to imagine Carrie delivered any meaningful consequences or support. In fact, many commenters speculated that Carrie might have even secretly approved or encouraged Rose's actions, seeing it as a victory in her campaign to drive Olivia away. Alan taking away the phone. Commenters overwhelmingly felt this was laughably inadequate. Destroying a priceless custom wedding dress and delivering cruel insults warrants far more than losing phone privileges for a bit. It highlighted what many saw as Alan's failure to truly grasp the severity of the situation and implement consequences that matched the offense. Some suggested Rose should be made to pay for the dress out of her own savings or future earnings, or that Alan and Carrie should be presented with the bill. The lack of a significant, immediate, and appropriate consequence from Alan seemed to be a major red flag for many readers. For Olivia, this was the breaking point. I don't know how or why, she writes, but this is the straw that is breaking the camel's back. After years of trying, of enduring the nastiness, the disrespect, the "you're not my mother" comments, the feeling of being an unwelcome intruder in her own relationship, this act of deliberate destruction was too much. I have gone through so much with Rose, I've tried to be caring and compassionate, and this is my reward. The initial shock and sadness began to fade, replaced by a white-hot anger. Now that my sadness has faded away, it's been replaced with a boiling anger, she confesses, and with that anger came a powerful temptation. I'm tempted to just call off the wedding and leave Alan to deal with his brat of a daughter. She recognizes the calculated nature of Rose's actions. This wasn't an accident. This was on purpose. It was an attack not just on a dress, but on Olivia herself, on her place in the family, on the wedding itself. But then the conflict returns. She remembers that Rose is part of Alan's life. She loves Alan. He's the man she wants to marry. But can she live like this? Can she marry into a family where she is treated with such contempt and hostility by her stepdaughter, seemingly enabled by her fiancé's ex-wife and not adequately addressed by her fiancé himself? I love Alan, she repeats, but I don't know if I can keep taking it. The post ends with a desperate plea. What do I do now? She's torn between abandoning the relationship entirely or giving Rose, and by extension Alan and the whole situation, yet another chance. The comments section exploded, as you can imagine. The overwhelming sentiment was clear: do not marry this man, at least not yet. People weren't just reacting to the dress incident in isolation. They saw it as the culmination of a long pattern of disrespect and inadequate parenting, heavily influenced by a toxic co-parent. A major theme was that Olivia wasn't just marrying Alan, she was marrying his entire situation, including Rose and the dynamic with Carrie. Several commenters emphasized that the relationship with the stepchild is integral to the marriage itself. It has to be right, or at least functional and respectful, before you walk down the aisle. Marrying Alan now wouldn't magically fix the problems with Rose. It would likely entrench them and make Olivia's life miserable. One commenter shared a painful story about their sister, who endured over 20 years of conflict with difficult stepchildren, stating the issues never fully resolved and constantly strained the marriage. Another shared their own experience of leaving a similar relationship, calling it the best decision they ever made for their peace of mind. The message was clear. This isn't just about a dress, it's about Olivia's future happiness and well-being. Many commenters focused heavily on Alan's role or lack thereof. While Olivia mentioned he tried setting rules, his inability to curb Rose's behavior, culminating in the weak punishment for destroying the dress, suggested he wasn't parenting effectively. People argued he needed to step up dramatically, set firm boundaries not just with Rose but crucially with Carrie, and prioritize Olivia as his future wife. He needed to make it unequivocally clear that disrespect towards Olivia would not be tolerated and would have severe consequences. His failure to do so was seen as a massive red flag. Is he capable of protecting Olivia and their future marriage from Rose's hostility and Carrie's interference? Based on the evidence, many doubted it. Carrie's influence was seen as a primary driver of Rose's behavior. Commenters theorized that Carrie was likely poisoning Rose against Olivia, feeding her lies, and possibly even rewarding her for acting out. This external manipulation makes standard parenting techniques ineffective because Rose is getting validation and encouragement from her mother. Until Alan confronts Carrie and shuts down her interference, nothing is likely to change. The future implications were a huge concern. What happens if Olivia and Alan have children together? How would Rose treat her half-siblings? Would she escalate her behavior? Commenters shared horror stories, including one about a great-uncle who divorced his wife because her daughter's destructive behavior escalated over time. The destruction of the dress wasn't seen as a one-off incident, but as a potential indicator of deeper issues and future turmoil. Could Olivia trust Rose around her personal belongings or potentially around future children? The consensus was a resounding no, not under the current circumstances. So what was the advice? Almost universally, people urged Olivia to call off or at least postpone the wedding indefinitely. Marriage should not happen until these fundamental issues are addressed. The destruction of the dress was viewed as a symptom of a much larger problem that needed fixing before vows were exchanged. Family therapy, specifically for Alan and Rose, was strongly recommended as a prerequisite for even considering rescheduling the wedding. Alan needs professional help to learn how to parent effectively in this complex situation, set boundaries, and address Rose's behavior and the underlying issues. Rose needs therapy to process her feelings about the divorce and remarriage in a healthy way, and to understand the impact of her actions. Some suggested therapy for Olivia and Alan together as well, to work on communication and establish a united front. Financially, many commenters felt strongly that Rose, Alan, and/or Carrie should be held responsible for the cost of the destroyed dress. Sending them a bill wasn't just about the money, it was about accountability. Actions have consequences, and destroying something so valuable and meaningful requires more than just losing a phone. Boundaries were a key theme. Alan needs to establish firm boundaries with Carrie regarding her influence on Rose and her interactions concerning Olivia. He needs to take the lead in discipline and consistently back Olivia up. Some commenters even suggested limiting or cutting off contact with Rose if her behavior didn't drastically improve, though this is obviously a very difficult step given she is Alan's daughter. Ultimately, the advice centered on Olivia prioritizing her own mental health and happiness. Commenters stressed that no relationship is worth enduring constant abuse, disrespect, and emotional turmoil. She deserved a partner who would protect her and stand up for her, and a home environment where she felt safe and respected. If Alan couldn't provide that, then walking away, however painful, might be the necessary choice. One practical piece of advice was to document everything Rose's actions. Alan's acknowledgments, like texts about the incident, Carrie's interference, especially if Olivia decided to end the relationship, to have a clear record of why. Reflecting on the whole situation, it's a heartbreaking scenario. Olivia sounds like a woman who genuinely tried to make things work. She entered the relationship knowing Alan came as a package deal and seemed prepared for the usual challenges of blending a family. But what she encountered went far beyond typical step-parenting hurdles. She faced targeted hostility from a child, likely fueled by a bitter ex-wife, and insufficient support or protection from her partner. The destruction of the wedding dress wasn't just about the dress itself, though its sentimental value makes the act particularly cruel. It was a symbolic act of violence against Olivia, against her relationship with Alan, and against their future together. Rose's complete lack of remorse, and her vile insult afterward confirmed the malicious intent behind the action. The decision Olivia faced was monumental. Calling off a wedding a week before it happens is a huge, painful, and often costly decision. But marrying into a situation where she is clearly despised by her stepdaughter, undermined by the ex-wife, and not fully supported by her fiancé, that seemed like a recipe for lifelong misery. The commenters overwhelmingly believed that the pain of canceling the wedding now would be far less than the pain of enduring years, possibly decades, of a toxic family dynamic. While the original post doesn't give us a final update on what Olivia decided, the title she chose for the video, "I'm Canceling My Wedding Because of My Stepdaughter," strongly suggests she took the advice of the community and prioritized her own well-being. It implies she reached her breaking point and realized that love for Alan wasn't enough to overcome the destructive forces at play within his family structure. This story serves as a stark reminder of the complexities of blended families, especially when co-parenting relationships are fraught with bitterness and manipulation. It highlights the absolute necessity for partners to present a united front, set firm boundaries, and protect their relationship from internal and external attacks. It also underscores the importance of recognizing red flags and understanding that sometimes, walking away from a relationship, no matter how much you love the person, is the only way to protect your own peace and happiness. Olivia deserved to walk down the aisle feeling cherished and celebrated, not targeted and torn down. Hopefully, by choosing herself, she opened the door to a future where she can find that. The lesson here seems clear. You can't build a happy marriage on a foundation cracked by disrespect, manipulation, and a partner's unwillingness or inability to truly stand beside you. Sometimes, the hardest choice, canceling the dream, is the only choice that leads to a healthier reality.